February 18th at 1:01 PM. I'm going to call the Plan Commission of February 18th to order. My name is Nancy Washburn. I'm sitting in for Joe Mayer, our chair, who is not available today. So, our first item is call to order, which I just did. And Brandy, if you could do a roll call.
Peterson.
Here.
Basil.
Here.
Rizzler.
Here.
Bazanowski.
Here.
Washburn.
Here. Very good. We have a quorum. Okay. We have some meeting minutes from our January 21st, 2026 Plan Commission meeting. Does anybody, after review, has anybody got comments or changes? Otherwise, we'd be looking for a motion.
Motion to approve?
To approve. That's what you're making a motion to approve?
Yeah.
All right. Michelle's made a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Larry Basil seconds that motion. Any discussion of those minutes?
Abstain, I wasn't here.
All right, hearing none then, all those in favor say aye,
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
with Tosh abstaining. All right, very good. Under old business, we have nothing. We have one new item on the agenda today, and it looks like our developer is here. We have 1617 through 1619 Derby Avenue condominium plat, CP-26-01. Robin, I know you're gonna take this and you're looking for an approval. Is that approval of the Derby Avenue condominium plat inclusive of all the exhibits you're showing, the site plan and?
Yeah, I mean, if there needs to be, we are aware of some questions about, like, you know, conflict resolution or best practices in the instruments, but we're waiting a legal opinion back from our legal team, and we can always condition it on, you know,
Just
any
verification.
kind of verification or recommendation. So,
But it's basically the plat itself that we're approving today. You have, the other items are your backup documents.
yeah, the instruments are a part of the plat process that we review at this particular time. So if you were ever wanted to reject them or had comments or needed to be changed, it would be during this approval. So you could kind of leave some of the revisions open-ended if you really wanted to, subject to approval via blank or blank, but I think you have specific concerns, so I think we could just say that out and work through that.
All right, very good. Then
Okay.
if you'd like to go ahead, kiddo, and present to us your location map, et cetera.
All right, so this is for 1617, 1619 Derby Avenue condominium plat. The applicant is proposing to split a twin home into two condominium units in order to sell them separately. The plat and related declaration assigned responsibilities to areas of common ownership. So the village board approved a certified survey map, CSM 2407, for the subject property in 2024. Actually, that was very, very early 2025, got mixed up on that one. For the existing 0.38 acre parcel. As we determined, the original subdivision, when this was originally platted back in the 40s or 50s, actually had 3 lots across these spaces. And so by converting this to a duplex, it actually reverted back to the number of units it was always meant to have. So condo plats are just basically private land divisions. So they have to the outside, to us, it looks like one parcel, but it has 2 parcel numbers, and via their instruments or their documents that they record, that assigns responsibilities for common areas. Condominium plats do not have a preliminary and final stage. They are final documents. There isn't really a whole lot of approvals left because they did do the CSM land division already, and most of the condo plat rules, regs, and procedures are also mirrored in certified survey maps, so they've done all of that. This is a good infill development for the area. We're encouraged by this, and this is a result of kind of our zoning code working as intended. This would not have been legal to build before 2020 here, so we're excited about it. Just little things like that of us getting out of the way of product that people want and want to build. So it meets all the requirements of Chapter 74 subdivisions, Chapter 90 zoning. We don't expect any sort of fiscal impact more than what the land division and construction of the houses did, so it's about net equal. And it meets our strategic plan and master plan. And that's it, and the developer is here.
Okay, very good. I know, are there members of the commission, I think, that had questions? Do we want to ask those questions and then let the developer come up and answer them? Or staff, are some of the questions going to be to staff or to the developer? We can kind of take that as it goes. Because you are here, we would appreciate your input if we do have questions that you are best to answer, so. All right, typically, we are gonna ask for a motion on this prior to discussion, but if we have questions ahead of that motion, I would think now is an appropriate time to ask those. Does anyone, go ahead.
I was just gonna add, these are the maps. Obviously, it's on Sheridan and Derby. Comprehensive plan is all residential. Zoning is all RN now. So all of this area was RL2 beforehand. That got converted to the new RN district. So go ahead. Questions?
Go ahead.
I just wonder if you've thought about what happens 20 years from now when you have two people with equal rights, voting rights, and they don't get along.
You're gonna have to go up,
Yeah.
sir, you're gonna have to go up to the, yeah. And if you could give us your name and address as well, please.
Sure.
For the record, yeah. Thank you.
My name's Mike Peterson. I'm with MPR Holdings. What's our address, Tom? 2733 Washington Avenue, Racine, Wisconsin's our office. The question was, what happens in 20 years if the neighbors don't get along? The condo docs speak to all that. This is under, it's called a small condominium. It's a new statute in Wisconsin. Literally, the statutes are a page and a half long. It's pretty simple stuff. What we typically see in these is one of the two homeowners takes over the association, just manages it in-house. Generally, they cut their own grass. They don't hire a lot out. It's pretty simple stuff, and the condo docs do speak to how disputes are resolved.
Can you point that out? I didn't see it, but.
I didn't see it either. I didn't see who gets the
It's in the statutes.
deciding.
Oh, it's in the statute.
Yeah, it's a statute thing. It's in the statutes.
Could you describe it for us, just to?
I don't remember offhand.
We're just curious.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah. I don't remember the exact offhand how they do it, but it was pretty amicable.
They don't flip a coin.
Probably, you know.
I will try to pull that up really quick.
Sure.
Keep on going.
Well, yeah, so if it's beyond our purview, I guess
Yeah.
we don't have to spend time on it.
Yeah, I think that's an important point to make. I did read through the packet and the documents as well. And typically in a condo, you know, if you have we have subdivisions here right now ongoing that Bear's doing, where they have the 2-unit condos side by side like yours on a lot, but they have a master association and there are, 200 members of that association. So they're more actively collecting reserves, for roofs and siding and so forth. I saw no collection of reserves in your documents. And it is also something that was pointed out to me by Sam and Robin, that we don't necessarily have purview over that. We don't legislate that, so to speak. But it is something that we want you to think about for the future. The statute can allow a lot of things, but there are existing properties like this that after a period of time, the two owners don't get along, and so then they're in court, and then And then the value of the property is a concern in the long haul. So I think some of our questions today, you know, Tosh owns a title company, so he's very familiar with what happens over time. Larry's an architect and has done a lot of development, and I'm a land developer. So we have some background in this. We're just thinking of the future. We'd love to see a way for you to make a 3-member board, because even if the third member's a non-owner, I believe, and that's an opinion I've asked for myself. Sam has had our attorney looking into that fact, because there's another situation I'm aware of that's very similar to this, and they had thought they could get a third party. So then they would have a quorum for dispute resolution, as opposed to the statute. You know, there's always assessments, the work can be done, there's always assessment ability, but that still burdens one property owner. If the roof needs to be replaced and you don't have cooperation from both owners, then one owner is going to replace the roof and have to place a lien or assess the second owner, which, when will that get paid? They're still out the full amount of money. So those are the things we're thinking ahead about. I think Larry and Tosh, both of you, Frank as well, you know, zoning administrator for the county for a number of decades. So we have some background in this. And I think these words to you are more words of caution as opposed to regulation. Sam, did I sum that up okay?
I think that was a great summary. I just wanted to add, as kind of Robin said, you know, Trustee Washburn sent some of these questions to us yesterday. And so I talked to the village attorney. We're going to get an opinion on it. So if it makes the plan commission more comfortable, you can approve the condo plat subject to any final, you know, conditions or final review by the village attorney. But as Trustee Washburn said, the way the village ordinance specifies review of homeowners and association and condo association documents is really from the view of the municipality. So, you know, are there things like stormwater ponds, for example, in much larger plats that have, if they don't function, that affects the general public? You know, they might spill over onto roads or other types of things. So our association ordinances really relate to things that are important to the general public, and not to, if two people in the long run don't agree. That's more of the private side of a private homeowners association. So we don't really have that direct purview per the ordinance. However, I have asked the village attorney to look at the entire thing, because we've had a couple of these questions over the past few months as we've seen a few different plats. So when I get that answer from him, I don't personally think that should hold it up today, but I'll forward that response from the attorney to you all, and we should have that by village board next Monday, so the village board can make any final considerations before they give the final sign off.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing that, Sam. And I think if for nothing else, is it something that once we get that opinion, we need to have a bigger discussion about in terms of what's in our code and how we, you know, is it working? Or are we protecting, you know, is there something that needs to be changed in that regard? And I don't think it should hold up this today. I don't. I think it's something that our experience is bringing to your attention. We want to make you aware of it. It's, you know, it's a concern and something that, you know, these documents are very fluid, so you may want to go back to, you know, your attorney and have him advise you as well. But just kind of some food for thought, I think, for the developer.
Sam, I always worry that something like this, let's just say the two neighbors don't get along and one of them decides the hell with it and just lets the property go to waste. Doesn't it eventually become our problem?
It can, however, our preference is to solve, we're not trying to kick the can down the road, but also solve the problems when they arise. So I don't think that we should over-legislate private association documents, because there have been experiences in the past where the village staff over time have been more involved in those documents. That creates other long-term title issues in the future of the village needing to like step out of these private agreements. So we're kind of trying to thread the needle on what's an appropriate level here. In the situation that you just described, that's really more of a property maintenance long-term nuisance issue, and if that arises, we have a zoning enforcement officer on staff who goes out and reviews those things. So
That's true.
I'd say try not to pre-solve every problem, but again, we are getting that opinion from the attorney. So if there is something glaring in there, we'll recommend to the applicant that they change it. The other thing with private association documents is once it's recorded and through the village board, they can always amend it without the village's approval in the future. So we're really, again, just looking for, are they hitting the things in the ordinance? I think Trustee Washburn's point was well said, that based on the review by the village attorney, if we do need to make changes to what we're reviewing as outlined in the ordinance, that's more of a legislative conversation that is under the purview of the Plan Commission. So that's always our preference, is to, review applications based on the rules that we have today, but take those learning opportunities and bring that back. So if there are those opportunities, or we get other best practices or a boilerplate or something like that, we'll certainly have that conversation through the Plan Commission at that time.
I think, Tosh, in answer to your question, as Sam explained it, he's absolutely right. If it's a nuisance, outdoor nuisance kind of a thing, the way we would be impacted, though, is if it completely fails and one of the owners just can't deal with it, can't cooperate, doesn't have the money, whatever, and they walk away from it. And then we end up with an ad rem, with a tax parcel that's ad rem, but that's a different story. Then that gets sold and hopefully reinvested, and, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, because that's really like overthinking, oh my God, the sky is falling. We just want you to be aware of our,
No, right.
we want you to just be aware of our long-term concerns for your project, as you're thinking about it, not only here, but in any other place. Robin.
Okay, so I did my research. I want to thank you for mentioning that. I didn't know that they had the specific provision for small condos. So small condos are defined as anything under 12 units, 2 to 12 units. And it's not the applicability, it's not mandatory, but any small condo association can basically say, we accept and are being governed by this rule, which is WSStat 703.365. And essentially it spells out lots of things. So like that each parcel has one vote. UR is a thing about the percentage divvied up, and that all actions need at least 75% of the members to approve, which in this case means 2.
Okay.
And then it also says that any kind of dispute, it spells out that you can have a board of directors. The board of directors can appoint a manager to do like those kind of things, and staff. So that manager would have the authority to exercise things on their behalf. Then for the disputes, it says all disputes under this chapter pretty much have to go to an arbitrator, and that they're legally bound by state law.
That's what I thought. There's no way to avoid that.
Yeah, they're legally bound by state law to accept the arbitration decision. So that's if they basically say that they're following this, that puts a good amount of onus on being able to follow it, and it's not going to be completely intractable for years and years and years. So, but
I think as I look back, I've been on the board for a while, but this is my second year on Plan Commission. I can't even remember, but I know a couple of the land divisions we did in the last few years that were similar to this were done through CSMs, and they were people building a second home, like the old Green Bay Road parcel and the Emerson Road parcels. They created CSMs, so they completely divided the parcels. And in those cases, the only thing that we had to worry about was making sure they had good cross-access agreements in place so that the driveways would be managed and so forth. So I'm glad thank you for bringing this in, because it is part of our new zoning code. It is allowable, and we've never really had a test case of it on an individual lot like this, that I can remember anyway, Sam, for a while. So this is a good discussion, because these are the concerns that, I think we as a Plan Commission and will have, to consider.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, in bringing up that this is kind of a new thing that we would like to encourage more of. The standard kind of duplex scenario would be less flexible in other communities, but because in Mount Pleasant we're a little bit more ownership agnostic, we would allow a lot line through the middle of the units. We would also allow this condominium plat, or we would allow like a single owner operator and then leasing out one of the units. So we've kind of taken this very like developer driven approach, but to see that applied on a smaller scale on kind of this infill type lot, particularly on the east end of the village, is kind of a nice win all the way around. So while
Right.
really appreciative of talking through, I think it is important to keep that high level of, when we're talking about infill housing, this is specifically the type that we would like to continue to encourage.
I have a question. Is there an advantage to condos, a condominium plat here as opposed to a twin home arrangement where you have fee simple on either side of the party wall?
The choice can be, I think this is a better setup. Thank you for all your comments. This is a learning curve for us too, to do this small condo complex. I would encourage everybody to read the statute. It's literally a page and a half. There is no reporting required. There's no, but I want to assure you this board, Tom and I, when we set this up, we are going to collect dues. We are going to have a budget. There's no reporting restrictions to the state or the board
No.
or anything, but we are going to once we package this all up and send it on. But more importantly, what this solves for us as developers, a condo complex, you have to have 50% sold to make them all warranted, to get a Freddie or Fannie loan. That's a huge hurdle for developers to come through. This solves that problem. This is kind of a trial, 'cause we're gonna be coming into another project here hopefully in the next 6 months. But this is gonna solve the problem, so a standard homeowner can go to anybody, get a loan under the covenants of the complex, because it will be, it needs, you run it through the system as a single family home. So that kind of brings back the other point. Any changes to the legal part of this are gonna be hard. In burden set, so I'd actually please be careful, and I can get you in touch with our lawyer if there's any language you have to look at.
Yeah, it was just the conflict resolution part, and that's been cleared up, I think. I would say that in the future, now knowing that how this exists, this provision in state law, like for condo associations under 12 units, I think as staff, we can make a policy to suggest that they adopt those as the default and work from there, because that covers all your bases and is enforceable by state law, which is a little bit over us. So, but yeah.
All right, anybody else have a question? Michelle, anybody?
No.
Oh, I did want to say the advantages of condos versus splits. Normally, it's in the infrastructure or setbacks or something like that. Like something doesn't quite work you can't really create a unique lot because the lot would be too weird, or that you don't have public access. And we can allow private access sometimes, but we prefer public access. So condo association is a way to split the property and do that without having to actually divide it. But we wouldn't force a division here because it's all one connected structure.
Right, no, I'm not, that's the beauty, as Sam said, that's the beauty of our code. You have multiple ways to create a project like this. And just to clarify, within your documents, it talks about things that are served by for both units. In other words, I'm assuming in your building that you may have run the water into the center, but you split it off. In other words, nobody's sharing a furnace, nobody's sharing any utilities or anything like that. Okay. Right, okay. This says if any. Sometimes these documents, you can't overread them, or, they're, you gotta pay attention. All right, well, I think this was great. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it, because it's been on my mind, and I've always told Sam and Robin, when it comes to our code, it's implementation, so I'm paying attention to that, but, I appreciate everybody and your patience as well. So if there are no other questions or comments or whatever, I would be looking for a motion.
Motion to approve 1617-1619 Derby Avenue condominium plat CP 2601.
All right, Michelle has made a motion to,
Recommend approval to the village board. This body doesn't have approval authority, it's recommending to the village
we're
board.
a recommending board, so yes, he's simply, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, just for the future, we are making recommendations to
Okay.
the village board.
Yeah, and
I
that's,
do it wrong all the time,
Okay.
so don't worry.
that's totally cool, because there's some things that this body does have approval authority of, and you just learn with experience, and we're here
thank you.
otherwise.
All right.
Is this subject to the final approval of the village attorney? Was that something you wanted to make sure that was in there?
We had talked about that earlier.
Yeah, well, I guess that's up to the commission. In other words, Michelle's motion is to recommend approval of the Derby Avenue condominium plat to the board as it's presented. It sounds to me, based on the small condo code that they referenced, that our attorney is probably gonna come back to us with the same kind of an opinion. I don't know that I would, personally, I don't know that I need to condition their approval on that opinion, but I would still like to hear the village attorney's opinion. Frank, if you would like to see it conditioned on that, excuse me.
Well, that was part of the discussion, but, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I would guess.
We'll have it before the village board, and we can just attach it to that packet, and it'll likely be on the consent agenda anyway, but, we can have that opinion for that.
I mean, I guess that's the point, I think that's the point Frank's making, is we would like to see the opinion. We do want to hear the opinion of the village attorney. Should that opinion alter what we approve, then we would know that by board meeting.
Yes.
So can you amend your motion then, Michelle?
Sure, so I move to recommend 1617-1619 Derby Avenue condominium plat CP 2601.
Subject
Subject
to the village board
Subject to the village board,
with the addition of the village attorney's opinion of the quorum within the condominium association. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, and you could say, as stated.
As stated. Is that,
Second.
okay. So we have an amended motion to include the village attorney's opinion for the village board, but to recommend, moving it forward at the board. We have a first and a second. Do we need a roll call on this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Wish you good luck.
and this is only my third meeting, so this was good that it was with you. Someone I know. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Well, that's good. That's awesome. What were they listed for? What's it listed for? Oh, wow, under 300.
I drove by them a couple days ago, and they're very attractive, and it's a nice addition to that neighborhood.
And not to stop anyone, but we need a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Well, you have somewhere to go, Sam?
No, I just don't want you to chit chat before the
On
meeting's
public
adjourned.
record.
Right.
All right, we would be looking for that motion. Anybody want to move to adjourn? I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.